Hey guys, welcome back to Transplants. I'm Amy, and I thought I would show you a few things that we've been canning here. At least that I've been canning. I'm not with Kim during this video, but I would like to share this, and we'll do another video with Kim, maybe preserving. As you all remember, she's got a freeze dryer, so I imagine she's going to be freeze drying a lot more than she's canning. Don't be fooled by the t-shirt. If you can see that, I am originally from the Oklahoma, Kansas area. However, Kim is also not from here. We both now live in eastern North Carolina, and we've had to figure out how to grow everything here. Everything is completely different. We ain't in Kansas anymore, kids. So that's basically the premise of our channel to begin with. That's why we call ourselves Transplants, because we are transplants, and we plant a lot of seeds and then transplant those seedlings into the garden and so on and so forth. But it's in the middle of the day, it's super hot, and my mini split unit is right above me, so quite frankly, in making this video, it's going to feel really, really good. I thought we'd go over some of the things that I have been canning, and I kind of took account of what I've been able to can. Now, I've also been freezing, and we have been eating out of the garden. So this is not my entire what I'm doing with the garden, but this gives you an idea. Now, as you remember, if you've been watching our videos, welcome back. And you may remember that this was the first year I did potatoes on purpose, and it was also the first year that I had potatoes growing that were volunteers. And you may ask, how do you have volunteer potatoes? Quite simply, in the pepper garden, the one we refer to as the pepper garden with the owl in front of it, a lot of times in the dead of winter, we will just throw our kitchen scraps directly into that garden instead of taking it all the way out to the wood chip pile that we use for composting. It's because we get lazy in the winter, to be honest with you. And so we did have a lot of volunteer plants come up. If you remember from the garden tours, we had a tomato plant, I think 2 tomato plants. We had the potatoes volunteered. I'm not sure what all we had volunteer there, but if it's in a decent spot, I go ahead and let it be, let it grow. That being said, I'm going to have to put my glasses on here or I can't read. I took the potatoes and diced them up and canned them, and I've got 3 quarts. This is a quart-sized jar. I've got 3 quarts of this and 1 pint. So now that they're diced up, now I can open this, dump it out, and strain the water off of it. I could make mashed potatoes from this, or I could just rinse them off and then put them in potato soup or clam chowder or whatever I want to do that may need cubed potatoes in it. And I did that based on watching Crazy Days, I believe is her channel. She is Wanda and Danny from Deep South Homestead. And the beets were not real strong this year. I didn't have a ton of beets this year, but I did manage to do 4 quarts of beets. That's in addition to what we eat. We really both like the beets. I boil these in some water and some apple cider vinegar. I add sugar, a little bit of salt, and while they're boiling, I dice them up and boil them in the pot with cinnamon sticks, and then I take a tea infuser ball and put whole cloves in there and let that boil together and everything before I can it. And this is like a candy side dish. It's really good. I believe it's really healthy because you can't go wrong with beets, right? And as you can remember, this was the first year that I tried and successfully had about 3 dozen carrots, which was amazing because I've tried carrots in the past. It never seems to work out. This year I'll be trying tape method, but I won't be using seed tape. I'll be using toilet paper, so we'll go over that in the garden. But we did eat a few of them, the ugly ones, and the rest of them I cut up and canned. And the carrots, I have 1 pint jar of carrots, and 4 half-pint jars. This one is a half pint, and as you can see here, this is a pint jar. So, another thing that we're doing this year for the first time, I'm raising okra. I hate okra. It's like the only thing I will not eat, but the hippie loves okra. And so far what we've been doing with the okra is making succotash, and I have canned succotash, and I have put it in freezer Ziploc bags and frozen succotash. So it's getting preserved 2 different ways. And I've also been, because the okra is putting a lot of okra off, so I also have just bags of frozen okra that maybe we can slice those up and fry them at a later date. Basically, succotash is stewed tomatoes with some corn. He has some chopped onions in there. Knowing Hippie, he probably put a little bit of garlic in there also, and then chopped up okra with sugar and salt. And you boil that all together, and that's what makes succotash. If you buy succotash from the store in the canned goods, a lot of times they will have lima beans in theirs. We did not put beans in ours because I just don't have lima beans on hand. But in the succotash world, just in the jars, we have 5 pints and 5 half pints. So, and he has been eating, like he got on a kick with the succotash where that's what he ate for 2 weeks. So, let's move that aside, and I want to talk about the sun-dried tomatoes. The sun-dried tomatoes are very easy to do. I did raise a Borghese tomato that is more of an oval shape. It's kind of like a cross between a Roma or a San Marzano and the cherry tomato, because they're very small but they're oblong shaped. And I split those, and Kim had told me I was going to dehydrate them because I want sun-dried, but you don't want the bugs and the gnats and everything to be on them all day. However, check this video out. Hey guys, I wanted to bring you out here to my car. No, not so you can see how dirty it is, but if I can get somewhere without the glare, you can see that I parked my car out in the sun and put a tray, a cookie sheet of tomatoes on there. The Borghese for the most part, and some of them are cherry tomatoes, and I just sliced them up, put them in the car, parked in the sun, and that way I have sun-dried tomatoes without the bugs and the gnats and anything nasty getting into them. And that brilliant idea, ladies and gentlemen, was introduced to me by Kim. Works like a charm, done in 1 day. And that's how you do sun-dried tomatoes. Now once you've got those dry, you just take them off the cookie sheet, and I've been putting them in the jars and putting olive oil in there. And so that is how I'm preserving sun-dried tomatoes. Now, as far as the rest of the tomatoes go, I made my own spaghetti sauce, which I always do, and I really need to make some more because what I came up with out of this batch of tomatoes, as you guys know, we're doing second garden, so I'm hoping for more, like double the amount of tomatoes. But once you've made your own spaghetti sauce, you cannot go to the grocery store and buy that ketchup-y bullshit they're selling to us. I have 8 quarts of spaghetti sauce, and I need to at least double that just to get us through the winter. The hippie really loves spaghetti and meatballs, and in addition to that, the day that I made my spaghetti sauce, I made my pizza sauce, which is basically just a little bit thicker. And the spaghetti sauce I have 8 quarts of. The pizza sauce, I have 4 of these pint jars, which again is not going to be enough to get us through the winter with the way we eat homemade pizzas. The other thing that I made while I had the tomato press out and I was canning was enchilada sauce. because the primary ingredient in enchilada sauce, at least the recipe that I follow from A Pioneer Woman's Cookbook, is tomato juice. So with that, I have 4 quarts. This is a quart-sized jar. I've got 4 quarts of enchilada sauce. We do have 2 peach trees, and we planted them, got them and planted them the same year. They're about 4 years old now. One is a dwarf peach tree, and one is supposed to just be a regular peach tree. The regular one is still only about 3 feet tall in the yard, and this is the first summer that it attempted to give us peaches. Unfortunately, they came off like this size, the size of more like a small plum or something. So it didn't do very well. However, the dwarf peach, it's been putting off peaches since its first full summer. And they are big and juicy and delicious. And so I was able to, with the peaches, do 5 pint jars. We were eating them like crazy because they are really, really good. But I did 5 pint jars of this, and what's in here is you just blanch the peach, and then I add a shot of Jack Daniels to the pot. You've got them all sliced in a pot. Actually 2 shots of Jack Daniels, and probably about 4 tablespoons of honey. That is all that's in there. I did not add water. I probably added a teaspoon of salt, just because I think it helps preserve it. But anyways, I made a giant cobbler out of this and canned 5 pint jars full of it, and then I let the tree crew, I said, guys, I've gotten all I want out of the peaches, and they were tickled to be able to, it was up for grabs. When you see them ripen, go ahead and grab them, help yourself. So the little dwarf peach tree has been fabulous this year. And as you guys know, I got blueberries this year because we have 4 blueberry bushes, and this year I was able to save some blueberries. I did manage to freeze 2 pints of blueberries. And then every summer we always like a salad that we make with diced tomatoes, sliced carrots, sliced cucumbers, and diced onions, and you mix that all up. You sprinkle some salt on it, then you dash some apple cider vinegar over that. I would say measurement wise maybe a teaspoon to a tablespoon, no more than that, and then you saturate it with zesty Italian dressing, and that's a salad that we do enjoy every summer. And I saw on YouTube a lady from another country, I'm not even sure what country she's from, was canning basically our salad. So we have the cucumbers, the diced onions, and the sliced carrots in here with water and salt, a touch of vinegar, and quartered tomatoes along the top. I don't know if this is actually going to work the way I think. It might be kind of mushy, is what I kind of expect. However, it may be fabulous, especially it may be super fabulous if we open this in the middle of winter. I'm hoping it's really refreshing to us. So there is that. Another new thing is, you know, we had squash coming out our ears in early summer. I've never preserved squash. I've never tried to freeze it. I've never tried to can it or anything. Again, Wanda from Crazy Days did the squash and onions, and I guess if nothing else, we could open this in the winter and maybe have some fried squash. I don't know. I still think it's going to be too mushy, and I think if I froze squash, by the time you thaw it out or cook it, it ends up being too mushy. I think the freezing would change its consistency. So I'm not real sure about that. When it comes to peppers, a lot of the peppers I will freeze whole. Bell peppers, jalapeno peppers, the hot peppers, I will just throw them in a freezer bag and throw them in the freezer. Sometimes I slice the bell peppers and slice some onions and freeze those together, coated with a light coating of olive oil, and then you have fajita mix for your fajitas in the middle of winter. I've also diced onions, added some garlic, and the bell peppers and jalapeno peppers, and just diced all that stuff up, throw that together with a light coating of olive oil, throw it in a freezer bag, and then freeze that, and then you've got the bag if you want for chilies and soups and meatloafs. As far as the pickles go, as you guys know, I kind of overdid it with the pickling cucumbers. So the pickles are crazy. I've got 12 pints of dill spears. That's this. I've got a dozen of these. And then I have the dill slices. I have another dozen of the dill slices and 2 of the quart size dill slices. So I don't know if I see a lot of hamburgers in my future or what, but we've got dill slices. And then I did a sweet pickle where I do the slices. And I have a dozen of these and 3 quarts of these. Now that's like a bread and butter pickle though. That is a very sweet pickle. I will just snack on this. I have a nephew that loves those. I'll probably send him a bunch of them. They are really good. For those that have that sweet tooth to you, a sweet pickle is a good, satisfying little snack to just dig into. Now also I've made some relish and some chow chow. I made sweet relish where you dice it up with onions, and then I did a chow chow, which is basically just a few more spices, seasonings, and it has sliced up carrots in there too, which helps it also be sweet. And as far as that goes with the chow chow and the relish, I have a dozen half-pint jars of that as well. So that's good if you're doing tuna salad or potato salad. Use anything you use relish on. The chow chow is interchangeable with relish. And then I did the Cowboy Candy, which is the diced jalapenos, or I say diced, they're really sliced. Sliced jalapenos. I did mix some serranos with mine because they were so many of them. And the serranos will make it a little bit warmer, but basically you do like 3 cups of sugar, a cup of apple cider vinegar, half a cup of water, or probably a cup of water, and a tablespoon of cayenne pepper, a little bit of garlic, some salt, probably like 2 tablespoons of salt, just again for preservation. And you boil that all together, and then you spoon out your pepper slices into the jar so you can squish them down. Then you add the liquid. With that, you have the liquid left over, and that is just sweet with a hint of hot liquid. And I didn't want to really waste it, so I have 2 pint jars of this liquid left over from my Cowboy Candy. And I think I'm going to use that in addition to glazing a spiral cut ham. I'm going to add this as well. I think that would be nice. And honestly, I just felt like I couldn't throw that out. So we do have Cowboy Candy going on here. And a lot of times what we will do is just slice and can jalapenos. So we have jalapenos that we can throw into chilies and stuff like that. I do like to do that in the quarter pint jars instead of having that many jalapenos in one jar, unless it's a big pot of something that I want the jalapenos in. Also, we have put whole peppers in these jars and can those. So if you're preserving your peppers, you can freeze them, or you can just can them. You can slice them and can them, or can them whole. It works either way. What I do with the cayennes is I dry them out and put them in a grinder, so I have cayenne powder. A lot of this you can freeze. If you were starting out getting tomatoes but you don't have enough to make your sauces yet, go ahead and blanch them, put them in a freezer bag, freeze them until you have a bigger grouping, or keep freezing more and more and more until you've added up to what you're looking for in the volume of tomatoes that you need to can something or make something. So we do that. I do that also with the peppers. I'm looking forward to making some hot sauces this year. I have a lot of new peppers. We've got the Tabasco peppers, of course, but we've also got the Jamaican Scotch bonnet, which will be new. Usually in the past I've just used my habaneros to make my jerk seasoning, which also gets canned in a little can like this. And I do a dry version of that too, where I put all of the ingredients in a dehydrator and then the grinder, and it's more of a rub for jerk seasoning. In between the freezing, the canning, and the dehydrating is primarily how we preserve things here. And we eat a lot fresh. We eat as much as we can fresh, and we give a lot of it away. So I just thought I would go over some of the things that we have been storing up so far as we were getting ready to go into what I call second garden. Now, second garden is going to bring a lot of different plants. For instance, your lettuce, the spinach, things like that that I couldn't grow in the heat of summer will be going out to the garden as fall comes upon us. Let's see. As you can see here, I have already started a bunch of my lettuce seeds. And you guys were with me when I planted those, but then I've additionally got another layer here. And I just keep this in this little greenhouse thing that I've got in the workhouse. I have cuttings from my tomato plants that I am trying to propagate to go for the second round of second garden. As far as second round of tomatoes, we'll be there for that. And let me take you over here. Now, I would like to take you up and show you what I've got going on in here real quick. So I'm going to move the camera. Okay, I've decided to turn this section into my apothecary, if you will. And so I've started drying a lot of my herbs and jarring them up. This is rosemary. And I have basil. I have plenty more basil over at the home house. I need to move over here. Got lavender from our garden. Lots of lavender. Oregano is in here from our garden. I have some heel all. This is the first year that I've been raising heel all. So this is not a dry herb that I raised. But this is the dried herb of heel all or all heel that I added to teas when I was sick, and it was actually really helping me. And this is a tea that my friend Kindred Insights on TikTok, I've shared some of her music before here. She sent me this tea, and so that's going to go in here. And I've got honey in here, local honey, and this is dried calendula. And I've got some marigold petals drying. And so this is just going to be like an apothecary. I do have this journal I wanted to share with you. I got this off of Amazon, and I love the way it looks. Actually, let's not hold it upside down. And I'm going to journal how to grow all of these herbs, as well as how to harvest them, dry them properly, because a lot of the herbs you don't want to put in a dehydrator because they'll burn up. Some of them need to be hung to dry, laid out to dry. And some of them, a lot of them, I actually just dry in the microwave. I just put them out on a plate in the microwave. I hit it for 30 seconds and then I get them out and I pat them dry with a paper towel and put them back in, sometimes turning them until they're crispy and they crisp right off the stem. And I got that from an encyclopedia of herbs put out by the Reader's Digest. But then I'm going to maybe have my recipes for tinctures or teas or purposes that you'd want to use these herbs. And this is color coded. This part of the reason I really like this. I think maybe I can break it down into sections. And how to use them in spices and the benefits of each of the herbs. So I'm excited to do that. And let's not forget, as we're gardening, it's also seed saving time. This is a bag of calendula that I've saved. And I've started a little bit. I already had a lot of the marigolds, but here's another bag. I've started with marigolds. And I have saved, on the peppers, a lot of times I like to save off of the first fruit that comes because that way it's not so cross-pollinated over the summer. I do have a pepper plant out there that's really questionable. I don't even understand what it is. I think that seed came from some cross-pollinating plants from previous years. So for that reason, I like to use more of the first. On my beans, I've saved the beans from the Cherokee Trail of Tear green beans as well as the Homestead Pole green beans. Now, both of those beans we could eat as a bean, but I'm saving those as seeds for the next year's gardens. So those I let stay on the vine for quite some time and dry out on the vine, and then I shelled them and got the bean, which is actually the seed for that plant. I've saved bell peppers, red bell peppers. I've got a ghost pepper that is drying out, so I can save the seeds from that. And if you recall from Kim's July garden tour, I took one of her Chelsea English cucumbers, really long slicer cucumber, and I have cut out, split that up and saved the seeds. I went ahead and dried them out, and then I saved most of them in a baggie for next year, but I did, however, plant a few of them for our second garden here. So we'll see if that has enough time in second garden season to put off a long English cucumber. Anyways, it's just very important, and you would be surprised, some of your grocery store groceries you can save the seed from. If you've not already started gardening, if you've not already started saving seeds and swapping seeds with your friends, just like that Cherokee tomato, we ate it and then we saved the seeds, and I've planted those. Now, I do have the Cherokee tomato plants out there, and we got a few of the tomatoes from them. On that, though, it was later in the spring, summer, the beginning half of summer, I would say. And unfortunately, a lot of those seedlings got ate up by a bug, like in one night. So I didn't get to transplant those into the garden and really get the full-on harvest of Cherokee tomatoes that I was expecting this year. But that's fine. We've got plenty of tomatoes going on. We've still got those Brandywine tomatoes that I'm very excited to see what kind of tomato that is. It's the first year I've tried so many different varieties of the tomatoes. Alright guys, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, I don't want to can in front of the camera because it's nerve-wracking, and it's kind of a spread out, long type of video it would make of us waiting on the boiling time and everything. I certainly would not pressure can on camera because I'm a nervous wreck with it. But everything that you saw there was water bathed except for the potatoes, I believe. I did pressure can those, and maybe the squash was pressure canned. But anyways, it's very, very simple once you get it going. It may not be something you want everybody to see you doing because like I said, it can get nerve-wracking. However, I think we need to do this, guys. The supply chain is kind of having some problems, and we all need to pitch in and do our part. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about anything in particular, please leave your questions in the comments and we will get to that. I think overall most of them, the recipes are pretty short and sweet, so we could probably just put those back in the comments if you have a specific question on how we did things. Or I would refer you to Wanda at Crazy Days. That's D-A-Z-E. She can also be found on Deep South Homestead. That's where I'm watching her do a lot of the canning and getting my ideas from there. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Gives you a little inspiration to preserve some of your food. Let's get ready for winter. Like I said, supply chain is questionable at best, so we all need to do our part. Until then, take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Like and subscribe!